President of India says India's first woman bartender.
Yes.
So the fact that you are a woman and a bartender has been recognized by the government of India at the highest level.
One day the restaurant manager comes to me and says, "Oh, you're in charge of the bar now and you have to make the cocktails." In my first job, I was the only woman in the kitchen.
Bars and loud music. Why? Why do they need loud music? Because people come to bars to have a conversation. Or so I would imagine.
No, so it's evolved over a period of time, right? Most people come to bars to forget, to just go there, listen to great music, loud. I don't know why loud, but
Well,
I
great
think
music is
and
a
loud is
question.
something that kind of works for some
Really?
weird reason.
Really?
And it sort of starts slow, and then by around 10ish,
It gets awful.
goes up, and then by 11, it's really loud.
And you can't have a
You
conversation.
can't have a conversation.
You're a composer. You're like the A.R. Rahman of the bartending industry. You're making your own drinks.
I actually wrote an article on that. I call
You
it
did?
the Philharmonic Bar.
Wow.
And I think that is where the big change happened. When they began to taste rather than simply drink. That is when the change happened. That is when this whole process of looking at other people saying, "Oh, wine and food. Oh, wine and cheese. I wonder what that's like. Oh, whiskey and kebab. I wonder how that's going to turn out to be." This life, if full of care, we have no time to stand and stare. And I used to stop there and say, and stare I did, at glasses and bottles, at all my bars. But today, I've kind of reversed it a little. For me today, it's about what is this life if full of care. You have no time to stand and stare, no time to stand beneath the boughs and stare as long as sheep or cows. What is this life if full of care? You have no time to stand and stare.
Our very special guest today on this episode of Against the Grain is Shatbhi Basu. Welcome, Shatbhi.
Hey.
Shatbhi, I mean, I'll have to read this out because it's a lot. Shatbhi is the first woman bartender and mixologist in India. And it's not I who's saying that, or it's not something that appeared in Filmfare or some rag of a magazine like that. She's been awarded by the President of India and the Ministry of Women and Child Development as India's first woman bartender and mixologist. She is the author of India's first comprehensive beverage books, the Can't Go Wrong book of cocktails and the Can't Go Wrong book of mocktails. She's also founded the first bartending academy in India. It's called Stir. And she is a bar and beverage consultant to international brands and bars, as well as a freelance journalist. That's a huge number of achievements, Shatbhi. But to start off this conversation, can you tell us what a mixologist does? What's a mixologist? What do you do actually?
What do I do? So honestly, I started off as a bartender. I'm an accidental bartender. I wanted to be a chef, but for some reason or the other, I kind of moved out of the kitchen and started working on the floor of the house. I looked after the restaurant, and one day the restaurant manager comes to me and says, "Oh, you're in charge of the bar now and you have to make the cocktails that are on our menu and generally look after all of that stuff." And that scared me because my focus had always been the kitchen. I had a broad idea of what the bar was about because we studied that as part of hotel management. I knew theoretically a few cocktail recipes, but I'd never made one, so I didn't really understand technique. So that I realized was not just something that you put together and then pour into a glass, but it actually meant understanding what everything was about, every element. Mixology is about understanding the spirits, but it's also about understanding technique. It's also about understanding a little bit of physics and chemistry, because you need to understand how chemicals, because alcohol is a chemical solution, and how alcohol will react with other flavors, how it reacts with ice, how ice plays a role, which means you need to know how much ice to how much alcohol, which will give you the right kind of dilution and the right kind of chill, and will then use your elements of flavor and understanding of them to kind of bring it into a whole from its parts into a glass that also looks really good, and then present it like an artist would present a painting on a canvas, so that the person looking at that glass would look at it and say, oh my God, wow. So look, then nose, then taste, and then, oh, I'm a happy person. And if you can do that, then you're a really good mixologist.
So what did it take you to get there? Because it's, the way you summarize it, it sounds like, anyone could do it, doing a three-month course, reading up a few books, but obviously it's not that. What was the process that got you to this stage?
Well, for me it was studying. It was reading up, because I realized very quickly that to do a good job, you need to have knowledge. And once you had knowledge, then you'd understand how to use that knowledge correctly. It was so good. I realized how lucky I was that I came from a science background, because everything fell into place rather well, because I started understanding how everything came together. And therefore, the more I read, the more I studied, I kind of tried at every point to buy books, because at that time that was the only way that you could read and understand anything, because there was no internet, there was no TV, there was no nothing, right? It was just books. And people. If you could meet people who knew more than you did, then you'd kind of pick their brains. So it was a combination of all of these things. It was a combination of reading, getting friends and family to send you stuff. It could be cuttings from magazines, it could be menus, it could be miniatures to help you understand the whole thing. It was all of that. And I think the more I read, I figured that there was more to this than just putting a few things together and turning it into a drink. Yes, there is a recipe, but the recipe has no meaning until you have technique. And to understand technique, you need to know the science behind each of these things and understand flavors, understand colors, and then get that whole thing together as a process. And the most important thing, of course, was to understand what the person who asked for that drink wanted, rather than what you wanted to put together. Because if it didn't taste right to them, then it didn't matter what you did. Because at the end of the day, it's the other person. So you have to actually put yourself into their palate, ask the right questions, and then get it right for them.
So is it just getting it right for that person, or giving that person what she wants? Or is it to some extent also that you're guiding that person's taste? You're taking that person into uncharted territories and at giving them something that they didn't expect, but then that which gives them a wow experience.
So that happens a little later, once you get to know people a little bit. Once you get to know them, and also of course once you get to know yourself and how you have progressed. So in the beginning it's all about, for me it was all about getting it right. But as I progressed, as I learned more, as I studied more, understood better, I have to at this point tell you that it was a book called The Redefine Bartender's Guide that actually changed my life. And surprisingly, it was a book that my mom and my aunt gave me while I was still in college, which I ignored completely, because in my mind I had to be this chef. I had to be a Chinese chef, and that's all I ever wanted, and that's all I ever read. And it's when I was told, now you have to look after the bar, that I pulled that book out. And I think the more I read that book, the more I was able to understand what the author was saying. I kind of felt slowly this whole change happening, almost like a metamorphosis, saying, do I need to go to the kitchen at all? I think this is what I need to do. And that's how, but as you progress, as you get better, you get more confident, right? Because now you know more about everything. And the more confident you get, that's when you start then experimenting, and you have the confidence to suggest to the guest and lead their taste profile, lead them in a direction which they were not expecting, and say, wow, that happens a little bit later. It did happen, obviously.
Obviously, yes.
Obviously it did. But yeah, but for that I really had to study, and I enjoyed the process of studying because it just added to, you know, everything that I wanted to be. Because, you know, if you're not going to be the best at what you do, there's no point in being there at all. That was kind of my whole, you know, that's where I was.
So you said something interesting just a while ago. You said that you're an accidental bartender, and your initial ambition was to be a chef, right?
Yes.
And what happened was you couldn't be a chef for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And therefore you sort of drifted, or you were pushed into bartending. And then you discovered that this is something you can do rather well.
Yes.
And then you developed an interest in it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
No, but my question is, what is it that pushed you out of the kitchen? Because let me contextualize this.
Okay.
In a normal middle class Indian household, it's the boys who are not allowed, by and large. Of course, there are exceptions, into the kitchen. It's a woman's domain, right, or the girl's domain. It appears to me from what you're telling me that in the hotel industry, it's the opposite. It sounds almost like men monopolize or want to monopolize the kitchen because it's a position of power that they are in over there. And therefore, quite the contrary to what happens at home,
Correct.
Women are not allowed in the kitchen. Is this true? Or can you
It
what's
was
your
true. In my time, it was true. It's not
true anymore?
It's better now than it was. It's much, much better now than it was. There were only guys in the kitchen. Yeah, in my first job, I was the only woman in the kitchen. So yeah, it was a bit difficult. The teammates were really great. Okay, they kind of took me along and showed me everything. But the head of the kitchen at that time, the head of the main kitchen, he wasn't a very happy person at all. He probably thought I was a distraction, and that he didn't.
But that's about you individually. But you know, I mean, is there a kind
because
of man?
He didn't have a woman in the kitchen ever.
Ever, okay.
So I just was the first, and he obviously didn't even try and understand whether I had skill or not, or he didn't even try and find out why I was there. In his mind, I should not be there. I don't know if it was really only that pushed me out, but I think more importantly, because I found my way around the kitchen and I found my way around the people there, and they were all very helpful and I was cool with it. I didn't have to interact with him much because I was a little, nobody. But I think the reason why I pushed out of the kitchen was because after being there for about 10 months, they didn't transfer me to the Asian kitchen, which is what they had promised to do when I joined them, that I would work for 6 months in the main kitchen and then after 6 months they'd transfer me. When that didn't happen, I asked them when that would happen and they had no answer for me. And I thought to myself, I've wasted 10 months losing the skills that I had really worked hard at when I was in college and in my holidays, and I thought I would lose everything. And so I thought I should quit while I was still ahead. And I thought if I joined a standalone Chinese restaurant, my chances of getting into the kitchen there would be higher. And that was why I quit, to join a standalone Chinese restaurant.
And how was that experience?
It didn't work.
It didn't work?
It didn't work at all.
Why? Why do you think it didn't
The
work?
chef there didn't want me in the kitchen at all. In fact, he of course later became a really good friend. But in the beginning, I think chefs used to have really, really big egos, and they couldn't understand, or they couldn't even see that here was someone who was seriously interested in the kitchen and was not showing off, but was actually trying to show the chef that she understood the kitchen and she was really interested. He interpreted that as I was showing off that I knew about Chinese cuisine, and he was Chinese chef. How could I know more? I didn't know more. I just, you know, knew. I just wanted him to know that
You're good enough. You had it
I
in
had
you.
studied and I wanted to learn more, and I would be happy to learn under him. But he kind of just kicked me out and said, I don't want this one in my kitchen.
So we seem to be seeing a repeated pattern here.
Yeah.
Male chef with outlandish egos, resenting a wannabe woman chef.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. Well, it worked out in my favor, guys. And I'm happy. It worked out in my favor. I still played with flavors, except that I turned them liquid. So yeah, that was cool.
So ironically, as within the domestic situation, men are proscribed from the kitchen, and only women work in the kitchen and at home. But women are allowed nowhere near bottles of liquor. So,
yes, that's true.
Having been pushed out of what is domestically a female domain by these male chefs,
yes,
you're now pushed into something where women are not supposed to be there at all. And your citation by the President of India says India's first woman bartender.
yes.
So the fact that you are a woman and a bartender has been recognized by the government of India at the highest level.
True that.
Right?
It scared me though. I wasn't sure what was happening.
So what's happening here? Yeah.
I wasn't sure what
What's
was happening.
happening?
Yeah, I thought that was a joke. I thought somebody played a prank on me, honestly, when that happened. But no, it wasn't a prank. And wow, I thought India has finally moved forward.
Has it?
I think so.
It has?
Oh yeah, I think so. I think we've moved forward. Sometimes when I see some old
We'll see the reactions
American
to this.
serials and movies, and I look at the year
Hmm.
and I think, oh my God, in that year, we were way more advanced than they were as women.
Right.
So I think we never really understood it because we never saw it side by side, right, at any given point in time, because there was nothing visually to show for it at that point.
Well, women had the vote from 1950 in India, and
That's what I mean, see?
not in America.
That's what I
It
mean.
came much later.
We were way advanced. We were way advanced.
Right.
We were far more confident as women right from the beginning, I think.
So let's dig a little deeper into this business of mixology. Your book about cocktails. Yeah, you can't go wrong.
The can't go wrong.
The can't wrong book of cocktails. Now tell me how that was conceptualized, because there's any number of cocktail recipes in books. There's any number of things that is out there. What was specifically different? What about your book? What was your project? What were you setting out to do? It was not, I'm sure you were not setting out to write just one more book of cocktail recipes.
Not at all.
So what was the informing concept behind this? What animated you?
So over years of working, I realized that people have had lots of questions. They had lots of questions to me about everything alcohol. They'd ask me about cocktails, they'd ask me about flavors, they'd ask me about even the simplest thing like, why is there a garnish in my glass? What should I do with this garnish? They'd ask me about whiskey, they'd ask me about rum, they'd ask me why I should drink this and not this. And I realized that there was a lot of curiosity out there, but they didn't really have answers. So I thought that if I were to write a book where I simplified everything, where I'd give them the basics of spirits and wine and beer in a language that they could understand, in a language that was not formal, but more like a casual talk between two people, me just chatting with someone and telling them all about it in a very casual style, and at the same time show them how they could mix cocktails at home with ingredients that were very easily and readily available to them in India. And that was what I set out to do with that book, the first book that I wrote. It was to make mixology, cocktails, stuff about spirits accessible. to say that
specifically to Indian.
to Indian consumers. I honestly did not write this book for pros. I did not write it for professionals at all, but it went on to become very popular with people who were starting out as well because it was so simply written. They were able to understand my language very clearly, and it helped them understand technique, and it helped them get their basics right. And at the same time, people who just liked dabbling at home, for them it was amazing because
kind of DIY stuff.
Absolutely. It was stuff that people could easily make at home. And I had done enough practice and research with people like that. I would actually make out recipe cards and call friends over and give them recipe cards and say, go make this drink. Let's see if you can make it as well as I do. And they did. They did. They were able to make the drink perfectly without any issue at all. So I put in a lot of work there to make sure that it was something that people would actually be able to use, because I know that books that I had, I couldn't use myself.
Right.
They didn't ever tell you how to do it right, and every time you made a drink, it would just not look like the drink in the picture. And you'd think to yourself, well, what did I do wrong?
Was it because we didn't have the ingredients? So
because we didn't have a lot of ingredients, also because there was a lot of trick photography. See, when they did photographs, they did fake photography.
Right.
And therefore it was all enhanced.
And
right?
you didn't in your book?
I didn't. I actually made every single drink the way it was meant to be.
And didn't do any
No.
backstage tricks?
No backstage tricks at all.
To dress it up?
No. Therefore, when somebody made a drink, it would look exactly like it was in the picture.
Wow.
And they knew that it was right. Because they looked at the picture, looked at their drink and said, oh, looks good. And tasted good. So yeah, that was completely my ideology behind the book at that time. Of course, everyone else thought, even they thought that it was way before time and that there was no place for it in the market. I was way ahead of time.
But I believe it sold abroad as well.
It did.
Because now you are doing it specifically for an Indian audience, but it's selling in London.
It did. It did. In fact, I met so many people who had used it and said that it really helped because it was so simple.
Right.
They didn't have to have all these super expensive ingredients. They could actually make it with stuff that they could easily find in their kitchen or on shelves.
Or
easily.
in Tesco.
Or in Tesco.
Since we are talking of London.
Yes, yes.
Right. So, was this just... Okay, one more question about the book. Was this just a rehashing of existing recipes and changing something here and changing something there to quote-unquote Indianize it? Or were you rethinking those cocktails from scratch?
So it's a mix of both. I had a section called classics.
Which are like...
Which are classics.
Martinis and things.
Correct. I just wanted people to help them understand how to make it really well. And again, also, if you didn't have the ingredient, what you could do to switch and still make a great martini. So yes, but all the others were all reimagined. This was stuff that I had done over the years, working in bars, with bars, stuff that I had actually used on customers, and how we had experimented with fresh flavors, fresh fruit, with stuff that was easily available in the market, go out and look for stuff and use. So a lot of stuff was reimagined completely. A lot of stuff was inspired by classics, but then adapted to what was available to us and to make it simpler. So I had sections across the board, which would allow you to choose the kind of drink that you wanted to make. Whether you wanted to make something long and cool, or you wanted to make something short and spirit forward. In those days, we didn't know it was called spirit forward. But
what is that, by the way? I don't know even now.
A drink is a drink which is not diluted with a lot of other mush, where you can taste the spirit and it's big in flavor. So we just called them, short and quick drinks that were really full of booziness and yet were flavorful enough without kind of, killing you.
Right.
So I created that book because that's the kind of feedback I got from people when they asked for a cocktail. It was almost never, I want a rum cocktail or a gin cocktail. It was always, I want something tall and cool, I want something fresh, something citrus, I need something really strong today.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I kind of created the book, based on these flavor profiles of how people actually enjoyed a drink, rather than, so mine was not rum, whiskey, gin, vodka based at all. It was just mood based, flavor based, the way people think about a drink rather than anything else. So it had everything for every mood, including for the rains, you know.
Oh, you had monsoon
I
special?
had monsoon stuff as well. Stuff when it's raining and stuff when you have a bad throat. I had that as well thrown in. So yeah.
So did you, in today's language, it would be called IP. Did you protect any of this IP, or having read a monsoon recipe, I could start a bar tomorrow and use the same recipe?
I'd be happy though.
You'd be happy.
It would mean that I was really good at what I did.
Well, that's established. You are really good. I don't think anyone's denying that.
So yeah, what the hell? I mean, come on, use it. If I don't share it with people and if they don't use it, what is the point of everything that I have done anyway? What do I need to protect it for? Okay.
For money. People make money out of patents.
You know, I've never made money out of all this.
No.
I know I have friends who tell me that, but you know, you should.
No, I'm not recommending that at all. I'm just
you should know.
trying to understand Shatbhi Basu. Who is Shatbhi Basu? That's what I'm trying to get.
A, the thought never occurred to me, and B, I don't think IP at that time was anything.
It wasn't, yes.
Even now, I think to protect something, even in India, is still very difficult. It's a pain, trust me. Even to protect manuscripts, it's such a lengthy, arduous, painful process to even protect it.
I know, and it doesn't really work. The protection doesn't work.
Exactly. Now imagine if I had to protect every single cocktail that I made, it would be a nightmare.
Is it done anywhere else? I mean, are cocktails protect, like Long Island iced tea obviously has no patent.
But no, there are a few that people are today protecting. Yes, and they're using their names, so we know that this guy has made this cocktail and this guy has made this cocktail. So at least now people are actually putting their names there.
Do you have a signature cocktail like that with your name?
I have so many, but I haven't even used.
No, with the name Shatbhi in it. No.
I didn't ever do it.
You didn't ever do it? Not your thing at all?
No. I honestly didn't think of it.
Interestingly, going back to the issue about chefs pushing you out, there's an interesting parallel in the software industry. When the software industry started, initially all the programmers were women.
Wow.
Because it was considered a lowly, menial, clerical kind of job, writing code.
Wow.
Then the men discovered at some point that actually this is where the money and the power is. And the women were systematically pushed out. And some of the earliest code is written by women. Just look it up on.
Wow.
It's a parallel to your experience with trying to be a chef, right? By the time you wanted to be a chef, the men had discovered that this is where the power and the money are going to be. And therefore now of course there's lots of female program, things have changed as you said.
Yes.
But initially there was a complete 180 degrees switch between women and men.
It happened to me when I was bartending, right? So
you were thrown out of bartending as well?
No, I wasn't thrown out of bartending. Luckily, bartending was something that people didn't care about. Alright? Nobody cared about bartending.
Why?
Barely recognized bartending.
It wasn't a big thing at that.
It was such a small, tiny part of the bigger F&B scenario that no one really cared. There were no schools that taught bartending specifically. Okay, it was just a small part of the larger stuff that we learned in hotel management school. And even when I began, and I didn't even know that I was beginning something, there were barely 3 or 4 guys who were bartending, and they were not there. They were also there by accident. They were simply put there behind the bar, and then they stayed behind the bar, and then they got better by just doing it every day. So there were almost no guys and definitely no women. Hardly anyone was doing anything. There were, it kind of grew in a weird kind of way. There was one other woman who joined in a little later after me, and I wish she had stayed on because she was really good at what she did. But she gave up after a while. And then it took a really long gap before women actually came into the bar. It took a long time. I tried so hard to get people to even enroll in our school, but it took a long time before we could see women finally coming inside the bar, and I don't blame them. It's very difficult, given the way our society functions, given the way that whole taboo about
Absolutely.
the bar.
Absolutely. Bar. Did you face any misconduct issues? People misbehaving because you are a woman bartender? Never happened.
Never.
Never
in
happened.
fact, they
So
were
it
in
wasn't
awe
as
of me.
bad then.
It was great. They were in awe of me. They would be afraid to speak to me in the beginning
Wow.
because they'd think, oh, why would we? Also, it was, why should we talk to her? So it was almost like a reverse thing that इसको भाव नहीं देना.
क्या समझती है?
क्या समझती है? Not that I समझed anything at all. I was just simply standing there doing a job. And but after a couple of drinks, they were very happy to talk to me and even tell me that this is what they thought of in the beginning. So yeah, it was good. And women loved the fact that I was behind the bar.
Okay.
They could actually come up and talk to me, which is why I kept trying to get other women to come in, because it
Right.
was a good journey. It was something that really made me grow as a person. It made me into a much better person than I was when I began. It taught me so much, not just about bartending, but it taught me about life. It taught me about everything. The person I am today is because of the fact that I studied bartending. Standing behind that bar and the view that you have and the people that you meet and the conversations that you have.
What is the view? Tell us something about
how do you are.
How do you see humanity from behind the bar? Because we are always on the other side of the bar, and as a bar person, you're not drunk, I'm assuming.
Never.
You never drink,
Never.
right?
Never.
On the job.
Never.
So when you see a bunch of drunk people getting steadily more drunk and more animated and louder and getting mawkish, some start crying, right?
It teaches you so much, right?
Yes, tell us a little more about what was your experience?
When I used to stand behind the bar, it was like a class of analysis. I would start analyzing people from the minute they walked in. So it was this whole thing about, as they walk in, I'm analyzing them. I'm looking at them saying, okay, who is this group? What do they feel like? Do they look like they're a group who've just come in from work and they're pals? Or do they look like really old college and school friends who are getting together? If I see a couple walking in, I start analyzing. Before they even come to the bar or at the table, I'm already analyzing whether they're new at the game or they're people who've known each other a while.
Are comfortable with each other. Or trying to impress
Are they trying to impress? Is this someone who's come with his boss, or has he come with his friends? If he's here with his boss and if he's someone who's been here a couple of times, how should I treat him? Should I treat him as a regular, or no, wait a minute, he's with the boss, let me not treat him as a regular. Let me just treat him like he's new.
Pretend you don't know him.
Pretend you don't know him, or at least pretend I don't know his drink. Wait till the boss orders the drink before I can get to him, because his drink order will be based on what his boss orders. So all of this analysis happens constantly when I'm looking at people. I'm constantly analyzing people.
People having extramarital affairs. You can spot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you can spot everything. You can spot everything, but you don't talk about it. Obviously. You kind of. It's a zip at all times.
Yes.
You never ask questions.
Obviously.
You never ask questions. You never discuss politics. You talk about everything except
politics
or
religion
or who they're with and why they're with or why not. you don't. So,
But you can inside your
yeah.
in your mind you can tell.
Oh yeah.
Can you tell how many he's going to order? This guy who's just come in.
No.
You can't
I don't
anticipate
think
that.
I could do that. But I can kind of tell now the kind of drink he's going to order based on his group. So when you see a group of friends, you know that it's likely they want to either order what they always drink or just drink beer. But if it's with the boss, they're going to wait, because if they order something that the boss might not, then they're in trouble.
Right.
So
right.
you kind of play those games when you're on the bar, or when someone comes and talks to you, or tells you that they've had a shitty day.
Right.
Then you kind of know that they want to be left alone and they don't really want to have this conversation with you.
Right.
So quietly give them a drink and then leave them alone till they've kind of got their.
So all these judgments that you make are actually a crucial part of your job as a bartender. It's not something you cultivate over and above your bartending skills. Without this, you wouldn't be able to run a successful bar.
It's true. I think the best bartenders do that. Those who have the ability to understand that bartending is not about standing behind the bar and mixing drinks alone. That it requires a lot more than that. I always tell bartenders that they need to recognize that they're geniuses, because
they're
honestly,
artists. They're
so many things, right? They're part scientists, they're part artists, they're part analysts, they're part doctors, because everyone thinks that the bartender is their doctor for the evening. So there's so many things combined in one, and not everyone can do that.
Not everyone.
Yeah, not everyone.
It's a tough job. It's a tough
job. And you're standing on your feet all the time, so you have to kind of have the ability to be able to stand for 6 hours, 8 hours, sometimes 10 hours at a stretch, without going to the washroom, without budging. Sometimes we're so busy.
What's wrong with going to the washroom?
No time.
No time.
Yeah, sometimes you're so busy there's no time. You just have a switch on, switch off, switch. Sometimes the music is so loud you hate it, so you switch off because you don't want to hear it, because it's driving you insane.
That's
you learn
question.
Sign language, a kind of sign language that's purely our own from the bar, where we're looking at people, where, especially when you're working in nightclubs, you remember the nightclubs of those years, right?
Yes.
Noisy, dark.
Horrible. For me.
For all of us, but we were behind the bar. So we had a switch off. I had a switch off mechanism. I used to just switch off.
That's a survival strategy.
That's survival strategy. I just switch off that. And then I'd learn to talk to people, because I couldn't hear. Because once I used to say, okay, speak in my ear, and then I got a ear infection. So then it was simply, you want a small, you want a large, pick up a bottle of Coke and say, do you want this? Or how do you want it? Soda. And we'd kind of get all our work done just by talking in sign language.
What's it about bars and loud music? Why? Why do they need loud music? Because people come to bars to have a conversation, or so I would imagine.
No, so it's evolved over a period of time, right? Most people come to bars to forget, to just go there, listen to great music, loud. I don't know why loud, but
well, great music is a
loud
question.
Something that kind of works for some weird reason.
Really?
And it sort of starts slow, and then by around 10ish,
it gets awful.
It goes up, and then by 11, it's really loud.
And you can't have a conversation.
No, you can't have a conversation. Thank God there are some bars now where you can actually have a conversation.
I only go to those.
And it's not dark and dingy where you can't even see each other, can't see the menu. No. So there are now. Luckily, people have evolved. I think we were young and we've also grown older, so they've recognized that there are others who need bars that are not just dark and loud. So yeah, it's gotten better.
So actually, India's first woman bartender and mixologist is not really an adequate description for you. Because you are, let me tell you, what I gather from what you told me, correct me if I'm wrong, is that you're actually a drink composer, like a music composer, And you need to add that to your various titles. You're a composer. You're like the A.R. Rahman of the bartending industry. You're making your own drinks.
I actually wrote an article on that. I call it
You did?
The Philharmonic Bar.
Wow. You sent me some of your articles, but
I sent you too many.
Yeah, but I don't think it featured there.
No,
it didn't feature there.
I don't know if
I read them.
bogged you down, right? I got excited when you said send me, and I kind of sent.
Yeah. I read
much
them.
Stuff.
I prepare quite seriously for these conversations.
No, but I did write one on the Philharmonic Bar. How I think that a bar is actually like an orchestra, where the bartender is the composer. He's kind of picking from here and saying, "Okay, go there, that one, this one. Oh, let's."
So that's like a conductor also.
Yeah.
So you are so many things,
So.
We need a grander title for you.
The one I don't like really is this whole first woman bartender thing. I keep telling them to underplay it because you know what? I keep saying that when I started, there were hardly any men either.
Exactly.
And I didn't know that I was the first woman, and I didn't really care that I was a woman.
It shouldn't really matter.
It shouldn't really matter because I really didn't care that I was a woman or not. I was just there to do a great job.
And it's not as if there were other great men bartenders whom you were competing with. They were simply not there, right?
No, nobody was there.
Nobody was there.
Everyone was trying really hard to do what they wanted to do with the limited means that we had with which to do it. So.
Now, one of the things you said, I'd like to pick up on that. One of the things you said is that people told you that you were ahead of your times, right? And that this wouldn't take you anywhere. Bartending was not a thing in India.
Yes.
And that seems to be reflected in the way nobody was interested in bartending. It's not like men or women were queuing up to become bartenders,
No.
Nobody was interested because I'm doing some guesswork. Could the reason for that be that there is no notion in India, or was not, now of course it's there. There was no notion in India at that time that alcoholic drinks could be an aesthetic experience, right?
Yes.
You drank alcohol to get drunk, and you drank rapidly and before your meal. It was an activity prior to your meal.
Yes.
It had nothing to do with your food.
No.
And your sole purpose was to get drunk with the least amount of expenditure.
Correct.
So you enter into that milieu, whether you're a man or a woman. Obviously, you're ahead of your time because you're trying to say that alcohol, it's not about getting drunk. There is taste, there is flavor, there is the whole experience of drinking.
Absolutely.
There's a whole ritual of drinking.
Correct.
It's not just glug glug glug. I'm drunk. Now give me my butter chicken. वैसा नहीं है, right?
बिल्कुल.
So, but you entered at that time, and that's why it's not surprising that nobody was interested.
That's true.
So, here's my suggestion to you. Apart from being India's, again, I don't want to use woman first bartender, mixologist. Now we added composer, drink composer. You also led the transformation of, in some sense, grandiose as it may sound, you led the transformation of Indian gastronomy, how Indians eat and drink.
In a way, I definitely...
You presided over that transformation.
Revolution
Yes, you
of
led.
bartending in India.
Not merely bartending is what I'm saying. There is a gastronomic revolution happening under the hood.
Yes.
Correct? Which you are presiding over. And just to call you India's first woman, it's a very inadequate title. You've done much more, is what I'm saying. Your contribution is far greater than being India's first woman.
Thank you for being so kind to me. It's true though, it's true. But honestly, I'm pretty much happy with everything that I've done, and I'm pretty much glad that it happened the way it did. It's not that I started out trying to transform the world, but honestly, when I realized at some point in my journey, when I realized that it was not happening, and that if nobody was doing it, I should. I just kind of went out and did it, and I didn't even think twice about it. I didn't even think about, oh, how will this happen? Oh, there'll be so many hurdles. Oh, there'll be this. I thought to myself that if I have managed so far, and I've been good with it, I don't see any reason why it can get better and why people will not come together and make it better. And I was right. People did come together. If I pushed it and I said to them that, look, this is what we need to do, people came together. People kind of said to me, yes, we're with you on this. So I think, I feel that you need to believe in something really strongly.
Which obviously you did.
And you need to put yourself out there. And take that risk and say, you know what is the max that can happen? Somebody will say no to you. What have you lost? Really nothing, because you didn't have it anyway. So you only have to gain by pushing it. You have nothing to lose. So when you have nothing to lose, I think that's when magic can happen.
Right. So how much now you started when? In the 80s, 90s? 81. So between 81 and 26, how have Indian drinking and eating habits or attitudes towards gastronomy in general? By gastronomy I include drinking and eating as kind of simultaneous or concomitant or complementary activities, as opposed to merely drinking glug glug and then eating very quickly and getting full, right, with rice and stuff.
Biryani. Tikka with your drink.
It depends on your budget. We used to have
dal chawal.
Not dal chawal, that pav bhaji outside the other station.
God, yes.
And quarter system mein daru aisa one.
I don't know if you remember the days during Navratri when the quarters used to be in our back pockets.
Yes, I remember those days. And they used to be consumed surreptitiously in the terrace of our buildings.
Yes.
And there was the famous Cafe Namdar outside Villaparli station.
Correct.
I'm sure you remember that.
Yes, I do. Most certainly I do.
So, the movement from there, the blue ribbon in your back pocket, to today, what has changed?
Triple X.
Huh?
Hercules
Triple X, yes. And Old Monk, which became a cult for other reasons.
Correct.
But anyway, we are not talking about brands here. We are talking about that whole culture, how it changed.
So I think it has changed pretty dramatically. I think people have gotten better at what they do. People have become curious about why they drink, what they drink. People have learned over a period of time to drink less and drink better. People have traveled a lot, and therefore the traveling has opened up their minds. They've seen more. TV opened up their minds. Movies opened up their minds. So I think all of this whole opening up, whether it was TV, whether it was a lot more movies coming in, whether it was people traveling a lot more brands coming into the market, people talking about whiskey more openly, we did a lot of these little workshops showing people how to mix drinks, how to make cocktails at home. I think all of that over a period of time has made minds more curious and have opened their minds to tasting rather than just drinking. And I think that is where the big change happened, when they began to taste rather than simply drink. That is when the change happened. That is when this whole process of looking at other people saying, oh, wine and food, oh, wine and cheese, I wonder what that's like. Oh, whiskey and kebab, I wonder how that's going to turn out to be. And I think that whole process where the chefs came together with the bar and where we kind of complemented each other. They did the food, we did the drinks, we put it together and said, hey, how about having a nice sit-down dinner paired with cocktails, or a dinner paired with wine, or dinner paired with whiskey, or small eats. And so all of those things, I think we just kind of brought about the silent revolution, slowly and steadily, opening up minds and opening up palates. I think all of that together has kind of brought about the change overall in saying.
But partly, I mean, to be fair, it's also a function of money. I mean, to have this kind of aesthetic drinking, to be able to afford cocktails as opposed to a bottle of rum in your back
So
pocket.
I tell you what, I think people have also, I think our job market has also gotten better. When we were there, we were paid a pittance, right? But that pittance still took us somewhere. But it has changed. I think the biggest change happened when these call centers began. When young people had far more disposable income than we could ever imagine.
And then they were in the market for your cocktails.
And they were in the market for my cocktails. Also, I think it's evolution.
Right.
It's just evolution. I think people will evolve. Obviously, money plays an important role, but I think even with limited reserves of money, there is still a small community of people who are curious enough to say, all right, I would rather drink 2 of this than 4 of those.
And
because my experience is so much better.
And with your books, I don't have to go to an expensive bar. I can make it at home at a fraction of the cost.
I can understand whiskey better when I'm tasting it, because I wrote a lot on tasting whiskey, understanding whiskey, breaking whiskey down into its little constituent parts to say, what do you smell, why, how can you smell better, how can you do it at home by yourself. You don't have to always go out. If you get an opportunity to listen to someone speaking about whiskey, go out and listen to them, because you'll be able to appreciate your whiskey better. So yeah.
So we have talked about cocktails. What about wine? Are you did you sort of...
Am I a wine sommelier? No, I'm not. I love wine, yes.
But did you write about wine?
I did. I wrote about wine when nobody was writing about wine. I wrote about the evolution of the wine industry in India when no one was writing about it.
You wrote this in your journal because that's the other part of your career we have to discuss. Your journalistic forays into... You used to write a column for Midday, I believe?
I did.
Right.
I did. I wrote a column for Sunday Midday.
Right. And so this was about drinks.
It was about drinks. It was
including wine?
Including wine, yes. I wrote about wine as well because I knew people wanted...
So what did you write about wine? Pairings and stuff like that?
No, I actually wrote about the most basic stuff. I wrote about the basics of wine.
Like, for example, tell me, educate me. What is the...
Understanding what is the difference in the different styles of wine. So
as in red and white? Or
the
grape
there's
or what?
Sparkling wine and there's still wine. And the still wine is divided into white, rosé and red. And then there's other kinds of wine. There are dessert wines and there's what we call fortified wines and aromatized wines. So we just break them out into giving examples that this is a sparkling wine, and even sparkling wines are then categorized into multiple styles.
So wine 101 basically.
Wine 101. Telling them what it tastes like, because I remember when I studied wine in college, I knew everything about wine except what it tasted like. I knew the grapes, I knew the soil, I knew the microclimate. But if somebody said to me, what does it taste like? I was clueless. So I thought that was very important to help people understand what to expect when they look at a bottle of white wine. That, white wines can be very dry or very sweet and everything in between. But then the question is, so what does dry mean?
Exactly, because dry is not exactly the opposite of sweet.
It is.
In wines, yes.
In wines.
Not in the dictionary.
Dry is the exact opposite of sweet. When there is zero sugar, it's dry. But then dry can go into extra dry, dry, off dry, when elements of sugar or sweetness come into play. So you then go from this range to this range. And therefore, whites and rosés are from this range to this range. Which means that everyone can find a wine that is good for their palate. Depending on where you are in your palate. And talking about how you compare it, when people look down upon you when you don't understand wine, right? But you bring in somebody from the West and give him pani puri ka pani, or give him chas, or give him jaljeera, he's going to die too.
Right.
But if he lives in India, say for 6 months or a year, by the end of that year, he's going to be saying, oh, I like this.
This pani puri is better than that one.
This pani puri is better than that one. He's going to do it too. So I think, it's all about introducing people to it in the right way. If you drink wine with somebody who knows a little more about wine, your experience with wine will be better. So, how your palate can get shocked if you drink a red wine for the first time. You have no clue what to expect, right? And that's what will happen to you. You'll get shocked. So what do you do to make that shock better? And show them the way, and then slowly help them evolve their palate so that they can actually appreciate it.
And tell the difference.
Tell the difference. So my wine column was more about understanding it. And then as it evolved, I then went on to talking better about it, more about it. I wrote about why French wines are the way they are. How can you tell from a bottle and a label what that wine is all about? So I actually then did progress there. And talked about French wines and talked about how to pronounce those strange words.
Right.
How to understand the smaller elements and make sense of the words people use when they talk about legs and bouquet and aroma and that kind of stuff. I just broke it all down. What does tannin mean to you in a wine? For me, tannin is about eating a jamun and then your mouth all going crazy. So yeah. So for me, that was it. See, I wrote about wine to ensure that people who didn't understand it understood it better and therefore would take a chance, a leap of faith and say, I think I could try this. And I'd give them examples of wines that they could try to make their palate. And if they didn't like a wine, what could they do? So my favorite thing with white wines used to be white wine with apple juice. It's the best way to drink a white wine.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you start with 50% white wine and 50% cold apple juice. And then you kind of up the wine, lower the apple juice as you go along till the time where you can get rid of the apple juice and taste the wine and you're happy. And
right.
It was
that's
fabulous.
interesting. I've never heard of
drink.
this.
It's a great drink. Very refreshing. Very refreshing. Similarly with red wines. You can do that with red wine as well. And
mix it again with apple juice.
You can mix it with apple juice. You can mix it with 7-Up.
Seriously?
Yes.
Sounds like a travesty.
You can.
You can.
You can. I think there should be no nose up in the air, no snobbishness attached to it at all. You have to learn to enjoy it. If you can't enjoy it, then obviously it's nothing great. So you can do that. You can actually add ice and Sprite, make it into a spritzer, and then keep drinking it, and then keep reducing it till you are able to taste the wine itself, and then evolve from there. You can do that. I know there's some people who disagree with me, especially the guy who wrote about an article, and that was actually the reason why I began writing about spirits and wines.
Okay.
There was this guy who was very...
We won't name him.
No, of course not. But I thank him all the time in my mind.
Who sparked this revolution.
Who sparked this revolution, because he said that, if you drink bad wine to begin with, you'll never appreciate good wine. And I laughed very loudly. And then he also said that it's like growing up on a diet of comic books, you'd never be able to appreciate good literature.
I think the opposite is true. But anyway.
I think it is, because...
if you haven't read comic books, you won't appreciate literature. That's my personal belief.
Me too. Me too. And I was like, wow, how can anyone speak like that? And then he went on to say, drink your white wines cold and your red wines cool, and if you can't do that, stick to ice and water. And I thought to myself, man, wow.
This needs to be busted.
And I started writing, and that was so cool.
Wonderful.
That was so cool.
So Shatbhi, it's clear that you've had a long and successful journey.
Fun journey.
I'm not saying you're retired or about to retire or anything, but what do you do now? What's your current activity?
So I do everything that I did earlier, except that I've slowed down a little bit. I'm not as rushed as I used to be. I don't do as many projects as I used to, so I still design bars. I still work on bars. That's my primary work. I create.
So you're not a bartender anymore, obviously. You design bars and someone else runs them, right?
Yes, I design the work area of the bars. I curate their menus. I create their signature drinks. I make their wine menus. I get their shelf brands together. I run the training programs along with my team. And I have a woman on my team as well who's been with me for 20 years.
Wonderful.
So yeah, I do all of that. I still work with brands. I do master classes on wine and whiskey. I do mixology master classes for consumers, for corporates when they want to learn more, for events. I still write every now and again. I'm a little lazy now. I write less than I should, but maybe I'll kind of do a switch again. Who knows?
And you also run a bartending academy.
I run a school as well.
Yes.
I run a school as well, which again I teach at with my team. The three of us, we take turns in teaching different subjects.
Right.
So
Who would have imagined that bartending would need an academy? And obviously,
I know,
and there are people who are interested enough to come and learn.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, after mine now, there are, I don't know, there must be at least another 20, 30 academies now teaching bartending, or maybe even more.
Right. And how long are the courses?
Mine is 6 months.
6 months.
Yeah, it's a part-time course. They come in thrice a week.
Right. So these are usually working people who
Yes.
come in the evening.
No, we have
Oh,
two batches.
morning.
We have a morning batch. and
Because
we have an
evening is
afternoon.
working time for
Yes,
bars.
we have a morning and an afternoon batch.
Mm-hmm.
So that's and we do it on their lean days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, so that they can work weekends.
So what is it in your formative years, do you think, now looking back, that led you to this very unusual choice of profession? Did you always want to be a bartender? I can't believe that.
No, I wanted to be a chef. I wanted to be so many things.
Yeah, I mean,
But
even before that.
So before that, I wanted to be a vet. So in my formative years, I wanted to be a vet. My sole aim of slaving through mathematics, which I detested with a vengeance, was because I wanted to be a vet. And I knew that I had to do maths, physics, chemistry, bio if I wanted to be a vet. So that's what I did. And then, of course, when I actually did all that and I got admission into vet college, my family doctor came to play and said that, this one has so many allergies. How did you let her even go there?
Right.
And since I didn't have a plan B, my mom and my aunt thought, oh, she's the only one who comes into the kitchen and fiddles around with us, so maybe she should go and study at the catering college. Maybe she'll be happy there. And that's how I made that shift from being a vet to going into catering college, where I suffered in silence for the first 6 months because I was clueless. I had no clue what I was doing there. But before that also, while I was still doing all of that, and I actually even wanted to be a singer at one point in time.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I thought I should sing with a band, and of course my father was horrified. He was like, sing with a band? How could you do something like that?
Was your father horrified when he found out you were a bartender? Or was he...
No. I learned all my drinking tricks from my father.
Exactly, that's what I was trying to get at. So there must have been something in your background.
Somewhere, no?
Something.
It's all him. Because, like I said, I was the only one in the fam who would go and help out when they were entertaining. It was my job to take the plates of snacks out when they were entertaining to the guests. And my father, at that point in time, and this is when I'm in school, right? He would be standing in the kitchen and getting drinks together for the ladies, and he would be mixing a gin, lime cordial and soda.
Wow.
And he would rim the glass with sugar and bitters before he put the ice and the gin and the lime cordial.
There
and
you
soda.
go, you had it.
And I used to watch him. I was completely fascinated with what he was doing. And he would allow us to taste that one little sip from his glass, We'd say, oh, come on. And he'd say, okay, one sip. So I did get to taste a sip from his glass, a sip from my mom's glass. And if there were guests, uncles and aunts, I'd get a sip.
Some further surreptitious sips.
Then my father would even make wine. He and his friend, the two of them would get together and make wine. They'd make wine out of grapes, they'd make wine out of oranges, and we'd get to sip a little. When my mom traveled to UK, she would bring back kits
Hmm.
with which we could make beer at home.
Hmm.
So this uncle of ours, my dad's friend, he actually made a capping machine.
Hmm.
So we could wash old beer bottles, make beer out of the kits that my mom had got for us. Not for us, for my father, but obviously we were all there, happy to lend a hand, because that would mean we'd get one sip out of that. And it was so much fun. So I'm guessing all of that
Must have contributed.
somewhere at the back of my mind would have.
You were destined to be this, what you are today.
So.
Yeah?
I think so.
Can we say that?
Yeah, maybe.
And I know for a fact that other than your books on mocktails and cocktails, you have, and all your newspaper articles and columns, you have also compiled a wonderful book of all the traditional recipes that were used in your family kitchen.
Yes.
You come from a Gujarati home in
Yes.
suburban Mumbai,
Yes.
right? Which
Yes.
was largely vegetarian, which was vegetarian.
Completely vegetarian.
Vegetarian.
I think my mother's only exception for us was eggs.
Eggs were, of course,
She would make eggs for
Yeah.
us for breakfast.
Because doctors said protein and
Protein and all that.
Right.
That's
So Crepton biscuits and eggs.
Crepton biscuits and eggs, yes.
Right? That was the
Yes.
protein.
Correct.
And I think maybe you should publish that book because I've read it and it is an outstanding historical record of recipes that will disappear. I'm sure your daughter and your granddaughters or
Yes.
grandchildren will not have access to
I
them.
had fun actually writing that book.
It's a remarkably well produced book.
I had fun. I had fun writing
So
that.
consider publishing it.
I don't have publishers who are interested in publishing books. They're weird people. I
Right.
have to turn publisher myself. You know, the last book that I did, I actually published it myself.
Seriously.
Yeah, I did everything myself.
Which one? The mocktails?
The mocktail book. I
Okay.
published it myself. I
Right.
printed it myself. I did everything on
Hope
my
you
own.
recovered the cost.
I did.
Wonderful.
I recovered the cost.
And some more, I
A
hope.
little bit,
Little
not too
bit.
much.
Not too
But I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. As long as people made use of the book, I'm good with it. So
Okay, wonderful. Great. So, we have a tradition that we end this show with a little poem or a song that you choose and which reflects your worldview, which you think is something you would want to live by or have lived by.
I don't know if I've lived. Well, I have actually. This is weird. Okay. When you asked me this, I was telling you. I remember saying that I'm not a very poetic person.
Everyone is poetic.
I'm sure in my own way when I'm mixing things, I'm very poetic.
Everyone is mathematical and everyone is poetic.
है ना?
Yeah, बिल्कुल है, सही है.
अच्छा. But there was surprisingly there was this. I mean, I must have studied poetry, right? In school, we all did.
We all did. We had to.
But I don't remember a single one except this one.
Yes, please.
And
Irshad.
it was so weird because I've used it in such weird ways.
Right.
So it's called Leisure, and it goes. What is this life if full of care? We have no time to stand and stare. And I used to stop there and say, and stare I did, at glasses and bottles, at all my bars. But today, I've kind of reversed it a little. For me today, it's about what is this life if full of care? You have no time to stand and stare, no time to stand beneath the boughs and stare as long as sheep or cows. What is this life if full of care? You have no time to stand and stare.
So
That's where I want to be today.
wonderful.
I just want to be able to stand and stare and chill and deep breathe a little bit after running for so many years.
On that wonderful note, Shatbhi Basu, thank you very much for this stimulating conversation.
Thank you, Sujeet, for having me here.